So why don't we get started with the sensor? So this camera is going to feature the same sensor used in the RX100 Mark VII. So most likely we're going to have a revamped version of the sensor. Obviously, if this camera is intended for vlogging, the camera has to actually take a lot of decisions for you, and the autofocus is going to be none but the best from Sony. So we're going to see a lot of the things that we see in the higher end cameras, such as the 7R4 and the A9 II. So Sony, it is going to implement a lot of artificial intelligence in this camera. Now remember, this is a vlogging camera intended to make a lot of decisions for you. So the camera, it is going to have what is called right here, base object recognition and video and photos. So you are going to be able to really rely on the camera to make sure that you're going to be 100% in focus, and probably it's going to have a lot of the avoidance of subjects in the background, you know, disrupting the autofocusing of the image. Let's talk about the lens, because this camera, it is going to bring back the same lens that we had in the version 5. So we are going to have a 24 to 70 millimeter f1.8 to 2.8. Now we're going to be talking about the lens in just a moment when I show you the images. The next thing that we know is that this camera is going to have image stabilization. The image stabilization is going to be optical. So we're going to rely on the lens for the image stabilization, but chances are that we are also going to have some digital enhancement of this image stabilization. Probably this is going to be an updated version of the optical plus digital image stabilization. And remember, this has to be great because no one wants to actually watch a shaky footage, especially when you're walking around with a camera. So we are assuming that Sony had actually perfected the image stabilization for this tiny little camera. Next up, control. When it comes to control, we're gonna have a lot of controls dedicated to vlogger. Now remember, you are gonna be looking at the camera like I'm doing right now, and all the controls actually have been rearranged to be actually triggered with ease by the user. It is the very first camera, I think, of any camera out there that has a 3 capsule microphone on board on the camera. Now, this is a directional microphone, it's stereo. Now, we're gonna be talking about that in just a moment when I show the pictures, and let me know what you think in the comments. Drop your comments down below about that one. Now, another feature that we're gonna see in this camera is the skin soft effect, and basically what it's going to do, it is going to minimize your wrinkles, you know, so if you're someone like me that has some wrinkles already, it's gonna minimize them, but it's going to ensure that your eyes are clear, sharp, in focus, and same with the mouth. Now, the other thing that we're gonna have in this camera is the face priority algorithm, and what it does is basically keeps the exposure of your face really in check. This is going to do it also in sudden changes of light, so it's pretty good because a lot of vloggers out there, you know, they actually go to one place to another. You may be inside a store, inside a location, and then you go outside and things really go out of whack and you get the image completely blown up. All right, why don't we start talking about the first picture that we have right here. This isometric picture basically tells a big story. The body is completely different than the RX100 Mark VII. Now, the shape, form, and factor is still the same, but we can see at a glance that now we have much rounder edges. We also have again some new buttons right here, and those buttons are, let me tell you, the on-off button, the mode button, the movie record button, the shutter, and the instant bokeh mode. Now, check this out. Now, the shutter release button is actually protruding out, whereas the movie record button is actually sunken in. That's pretty good because you're gonna be able to sense the button and really know which button you're pressing without getting confused. The mode button, as you see, we don't have a mode dial right here, and actually where the mode dial would have been before, we have that movie record button. So far, you know, so good. The other thing that we can see is that for the first time we have a tally light, and the tally light is right next to the lens. And for those that don't know what a tally light is, it's a little red light that blinks and is telling you that actually you are recording. If the light is off, chances are that you didn't hit the button right. So check that out. I mean, it's pretty good to have it right there. Now, the other thing that sticks out really quick when you actually look at the camera from the top is that we no longer have an EVF, and for a vlogging camera, it makes a lot of sense to remove it and really gave us more room for capabilities like a hot shoe mount. So now the next thing that sticks out is actually the lens, and as you can see right here, we can see the focal length and the aperture. So like we mentioned before, we're having a 1.8 aperture to 2.8. Remember, the crop factor of this camera is 2.7 when compared to full frame. So now if you want to calculate the real focal length of the 9.4 lens to 25.7, we're going to do the following. 9.4 times the crop factor of a 1-inch sensor, which is 2.7, so 2.7, and we get There you go. So the actual focal length is not even 24. And let's stop a moment here to discuss this, because I know 24 is why, you know, the 24 to 70 is one of the most popular lenses. But when it comes to vlogging, having a lens that is not wide enough may be a problem, especially because this is the first time that we actually have a vlogging camera with a supposed to quality built-in microphone. Now, 24, if you really want to be in focus and not just be like this, like really close to the lens, you're gonna have to stretch your arms. And what's gonna happen is that the further away that you are from your camera, the sound is also going to start degrading. So that's one of the things that actually concerns me and makes me wonder why they went with a 24 instead of trying to fit like a 12 or at least a 14 or 16 millimeters. The other thing that sticks out is that we have a new rubber grip. Now, the grip seems to be okay. It is not deep. I think this camera should have had a deeper grip for a much more secure gripping, but chances are that you're gonna have this camera mounted in a selfie stick or the tripod that Sony makes, and we're gonna show you a picture right now about that one. Why don't we flip the camera, because today for the first time I found this picture. At a glance, we can see that the back, not much has changed other than now we can see the screen, the hinge, but the controllers are exactly the same, and actually they are located in the same space as the prior version, the RX100 Mark VII. Now, we have probably a larger thumb rest, if I'm not mistaken. We can see right here the camera with the screen articulated and extended. And we also see that dead cat that is most likely going to be included in the camera. And for those that don't know what that is, that actually is a wind screen. And what this does is actually allows you to remove all the rumble from the wind blowing into the microphone. So actually looks pretty good. I like it. All right, so why don't we take a look at the side of the camera and really appreciate what we have right here. So at a glance, we can tell that we have a microphone input right here, and that is very much welcome, because if you have a Rode microphone, like for example, that doesn't connect through the shoe mount. Now, one of the things that makes us wonder really much is the micro USB port. Why Sony went again with micro USB port in this date and age, right? Now, we were expecting USB-C for several reasons. You know, most things right now are connected via USB-C. USB-C is much more reliable, faster at data transfer, and also it's a much sturdier connector. I myself broke, actually Noboru broke, which is back there, my micro USB. Remember when you broke that one?
Nope.
You don't remember? But he actually broke my jack from my RX100 Mark VII. Now, we were wishing for USB-C, and especially USB-C with headphone monitoring capability, kind of like the DJI Osmo Pocket does, that you have a little connector and there you go. Also, the X-T4 has the same functionality. So now the other thing that we see in this image right here is that we have the same selfie stick, and there were rumors that Sony perhaps was working on a new selfie stick that had a battery built in. Now, those batteries, the MPVX1 battery, are really bad when it comes to battery life, and they can give you about 30 minutes of recording if so. Now, the other thing that we know for a fact is that this camera is going to film in 4K. Most likely it's going to do a 24 up to 30p, just like the RX100. But there are things that we don't know. Will this camera actually offer 60p? You know, people have been asking for 60p for a while. Now, can actually Sony add 60p in this camera while keeping the camera cool, while actually keeping the battery life somewhat usable? Now, the other thing that no one is talking about is touch screen capability. And when you think about it, this is a vlogging dedicated camera. Sony has actually done things that they never done before. So chances are that for the first time, we may see touch screen capabilities. And remember, this camera doesn't have the mode dial. Now it's a button. Chances are that you're gonna press that, you're gonna get all the options on the screen. So how are you gonna cycle through those options? Are you gonna have to go back to the D-pad and the controls in the back of the camera? Or, like it makes sense, have all the controls and you can simply tap into them and really change mode that way. So I hope that they have that reserved for the announcement, which it should happen on May 26th, and they're gonna blow us out of the water with that. Now, there's another thing that no one has talked about, and it is, will this camera have streaming capabilities? For vlogging dedicated camera that has so many specific features, to have vlogging capability would actually be really, really good. Imagine actually being able to stream to YouTube by connecting the camera to your phone. Will the price of this camera be different than the RX100 Mark VII, which I think is around $1,000 to $1,100? And the chances are that this camera is probably going to be priced at the same deal. So around $1,000. $1,100. I think that for this camera to stand out would have to be priced under $800. Again, the RX100 can actually do a lot of the things that this camera does, and like I mentioned before, it also has micro USB-C. So if you are a port fanatic and you must have USB-C, this camera is not gonna make you upgrade right there. Now, the fact that we have an onboard microphone, will that be enough for a lot of vloggers to actually change cameras or trade or upgrade? Answers are that probably not. You know, I really like vlogging with a lavalier. You know, I don't have to worry about anything. I know that if I'm in a place with a lot of echo, that's going to reduce the echo. And having a stereo microphone, that is going to be a problem, especially because it's located, you know, at the top of the camera. Probably when you're in a warehouse like this one, it's gonna be very echoey. And as you can see, this microphone does a really good job at neutralizing a lot of that echo. So again, a lot of things to think about, guys. Drop your comments down below. Let me know if you're gonna be upgrading to this camera. Let me know if you're excited about this feature, and what do you think about no USB-C. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you again later.